Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Buckeye Politics. It's me, your favorite Ohioan. So today we're going to be filling in my 2022 Senate governor prediction. We did a Senate prediction yesterday. This is the governor prediction for the 2022 midterms. They're really coming up on us. They are the first primaries of the midterms are less than a month away. Well, technically they already happened in Texas, but that's kind of a weird one. It was really early, but Ohio, and then they all kind of flow on in during the summer. So yeah, we have the real the wave of primaries is really starting to happen. Things are picking up. So this is the perfect time to start filling in the safe Republican states because these midterms are really coming up fast. So we're going to fill in states of Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, Alaska, Iowa, New Hampshire, and Vermont. These are all states that are going to be safe for the Republican Party in the upcoming 2022 midterms. Not much to say about this. State of Iowa, Kim Reynolds is very popular, and she almost won by 10 back in 2018. Texas, those polls have Greg Abbott up by about 8 to 10 points. Abbott's probably going to outperform those polls, in my opinion, win by about 12 to 13, especially with Beto O'Rourke basically running as a progressive. I don't know if you saw the picture of him in his shirt advocating for trans kids and all that stuff after the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. But yeah, Greg Abbott, not Greg Abbott. Beto O'Rourke is running like he's in, I don't know, Colorado or New Mexico, and he's in Texas. And in a Republican-leaning year, that's not going to bode well for him. I expect him to lose by a safe margin. So, and then New Hampshire and Vermont, these two states are safe Republican because they have very popular Republican, moderate liberal Republican, Northeastern Republican, Rockefeller Republican, whatever the hell you want to call them. They are two Republicans that are governors of Vermont and New Hampshire. They're very popular, and they're going to win by safe margins each. So that we're going to fill in the safe Democrat states. They include states of California, Hawaii, Maryland, because Larry Hogan is not running for re-election. New York could be very interesting. I don't know if you've seen the polls that show Lee Zeldin making the race actually relatively competitive, and then with Andrew Cuomo possibly running as a third-party candidate, possibly being a spoiler. All those scenarios are very likely, but as of now, I just want to see more polling before I make a definitive call on New York. I think it's gonna be. I think as of now it could be under 10, but right now I just don't want to make up an opinion on it because they've all been like Republican-leaning pollsters, so we don't have enough information yet. But New York could be a serious pickup for the Republican Party. It's looking like. Well, the state of Massachusetts, because Charlie Baker, the incumbent governor there, is retiring. I guess it could be competitive depending on who the Republican nominee is, because Massachusetts does all like Republican governors. They've had plenty of Republican governors the last 20 years or so, but really all the guys running that I've seen thus far are more Trumpian and will not bode well in the state of Massachusetts. So these are all the safe Democrat states and the safe Republican states. The state of Colorado will be likely for the Democratic Party. It'll probably be the closest to being safe, but it will be likely because Jared Polis is very popular, but it will be a Republican wave year, so I do think the Democrats will make the state will be winning Colorado by a likely margin, just under 10, but Jared Polis is very popular, so I don't really think that the governorship race in Colorado is even going to be competitive. The state of Oregon is also going to be likely for the Democrats. Not much to say about that. It's all in Oregon. That was always very competitive at the governorship level. Back in 2018, in a D+8 year, to a huge blue wave year, Kate Brown only won by like 6 points. And with a third-party candidate possibly splitting the vote in 2022, Oregon will probably definitely be under 10, possibly under 5. Oregon is a seriously under-talked-about election for the Republican Party, possibly picking up a seat there. But Oregon is definitely going to be under 10. As of now, I have it likely, but it could definitely go down to lean. I also believe the state of Illinois will be likely for the Democrats. J.B. Pritzker is not very popular with the rising crime in Chicago. A lot of the suburbs around there, I've heard, are taking huge shifts against him. His poll numbers are starting to be iffy. And Richard Irvin, the mayor of Aurora, who is actually relatively based on the issues for a more moderate Republican, he's running a pretty good campaign from what I've seen so far. He's doing decently in polling. And I think he'll make the race relatively competitive. I think he'll make the race under 10. He won't win it, but I think he'll make it relatively competitive. And Illinois is always at least semi-competitive on the governorship level. It's kind of interesting to note. But, yeah, Illinois, I will definitely be under 10, possibly under 5. But as of now, I have J.B. Pritzker defeating Richard Irvin by about 7 to 8 points. But, yeah, Richard Irvin is a solid candidate, and I think he'll make the race a lot more competitive than people think it will. The state of Rhode Island is also going to be likely. Not much to say about that there. Rhode Island always tends to be a little bit competitive on the governorship level, especially in Republican midterms. In 2010 and 2014, they elected an independent governor, and a Republican came very close to winning one of those years as well. So I do believe the state of Rhode Island will be under 10 and will be at least semi-competitive, but it's not going to be super close. It's not going to be some race you spend a lot of money in, unless we get a good candidate. But as of now, I just think Rhode Island, based on national environment, will be under 10. So with that, we're going to fill in the likely Republican states, of which there's only one, and that is the great state of Florida. Ron DeSantis is going to go on to win handily. You know, everyone's trying to go against him, saying, "Oh, he's homophobic. Oh, he's sending the Don't Say Gay bill. Oh, he's killing our families in nursing homes." And it's like Andrew Cuomo did that in New York, and no one gave a fuck. But DeSantis wants to make sure that the economy doesn't crash and kids can actually learn, and you guys have a stroke. So it's annoying. But Ron DeSantis, the people of Florida are very smart. Ron DeSantis will handily win re-election. If it goes Nikki Fried, he'll probably win by a safe margin, but it's most likely going to be against Charlie Crist. So I think it will be a little less than 10 points. Probably win by 8 to 9 points. But yeah, DeSantis is doing an excellent job in Florida. He's an excellent candidate, and against basically against either of them, he should win. He'll just lose by a little bit less against Charlie Crist or Crist, however the hell you want to say it. But he is because Crist is the better candidate, but he'll still lose by 9 instead of like 13. There's really not much of a difference. But with Hispanic trends, Republicans moving into the state, Republican registered voters in Florida is just skyrocketing. It's crazy in the state of Florida. So yeah, DeSantis will win by probably close to 10 points in the state of Florida. State of Georgia, excuse me, I forgot to fill in my great home state of Ohio. That's going to be likely for the Republican Party. The Democrats do have some solid candidates, such as Dan Wiley, who is the former mayor of, I believe, Dayton. Yeah, she's the former mayor of Dayton. Both her and the other guy, the mayor of Dayton, are running for Ohio governor, and they're both running pretty solid campaigns. So I think that Ohio will be under 10. But it won't be super competitive, honestly. I think the Republicans should handily win that race, but it will just nearly be under 10 because the Democrats do have solid candidates. And I also forgot about the state of Kansas. The state of Kansas will be likely Republican because Laura Kelly, if you did not know, there is a Democrat governor of Kansas. She was elected because of vote splitting and in a very narrow election back in 2018. I think she will lose. She's down in the polls. The third-party guy who split the vote, I don't believe he's running again. And Laura Kelly's done for. State of Georgia. That is going to be the first lean Republican state we're going to fill in. Not lean. That's going to lean to either probably David Perdue. Brian Kemp, he's doing okay in the polls, but if you really look deeper into it, he's going to lose the primary, to David Perdue. So the state of Georgia, I do believe, will lean to the Republican Party. David Perdue is a very good candidate, and I think Stacey Abrams, yeah, she might energize Atlanta, but the suburbs of Atlanta may take a shift back to David Perdue, as the rurals will vote heavily for David Perdue, and with the Republican wave year, and with Herschel Walker, that's Shad on the ballot, I see absolutely zero reason Georgia should not lean to David Perdue. It'll be a lot closer than people expect. I've seen some people saying David Perdue is going to win by like 5 points. It's not going to happen. Stacey Abrams, as much as I dislike her, she's a solid candidate, especially for Georgia and the Atlanta area. But I do think David Perdue will win by about a point to a point and a half. So I think Georgia will be actually more competitive on the governorship than in the Senate race, but it will still be relatively competitive. The great state of Arizona, that is going to lean to the Republican Party. Carrie Lake is more likely than not going to be the Republican nominee. She's run an excellent campaign. She's pretty popular. She's doing decently in the polls. Her most likely opponent, Katie Hobbs, is an absolute train wreck of a candidate. She said some very controversial things she said some very liberal things, which is not going to vote for her well in Arizona in a Republican-leaning year. And in a state that's probably going to vote Republican, I think Arizona will elect the great Carrie Lake to the governorship. The state of Nevada is also going to lean to the Republican Party. The Republicans have a lot of solid candidates in the state of Nevada. They have a huge primary, and they're all great candidates. So, Nevada and any one of those Republicans should be able to win the state of Nevada pretty handily. The DSA is not doing any favors, and with Hispanic trends as well in Las Vegas, I think the Democrats are going to be done for in Nevada for a little while. It's looking like in the future Nevada may be a solid Republican state very soon, which I would love to see. But we'll have to wait and see. But it looks very good for the Republicans in Nevada as of now. The great state of Wisconsin is also going to lean to the Republican Party. I think Rebecca Kleefisch should be able to beat Tony Evers. Kleefisch got the endorsement of former Republican governor of the state, Scott Walker, and she's taking the lead in the Republican primary polling. So I'm assuming she's going to be the Republican nominee. So Rebecca Kleefisch, Republican governor of Wisconsin, I think she should handily defeat Tony Evers. Tony Evers has done absolutely nothing as governor because the state legislature rightfully keeps shutting him down because everything he tries to do is super progressive and cringe. But yeah, Tony Evers, he has nothing. He has no record to run on. He's in a deeply Republican trending state against a very popular former lieutenant governor. So I see absolutely zero reason that Wisconsin should lean, possibly even likely, or probably lean to the Republicans. Rebecca Kleefisch probably wins that race by 3-4 points. With that is all the lean Republican states. Is there any lean Democrat seats? There is not. So let's start by filling in the tilt Republican seats. They include the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and the great state of Maine. Michigan, if Trump just held a rally there, he pretty much endorsed Tudor Dixon for governor. She's all right. She's not great, but she's all right. I don't really know a whole lot about her. I always presumed that uh, Chad, former police chief of Detroit, was going to be the governor, so I really haven't done a lot of research into Tudor Dixon. But it's looking like she is going to be the next governor of the great state of Michigan, or at least the Republican nominee. And with Gretchen Whitmer really struggling, so a lot of those cringe suburbanites will turn out for Gretchen Whitmer. But I do think in the end, they're gonna the parents are smart. They're gonna remember who masked their kids up and did all the cringe lockdown stuff. And in a Republican wave year, I do think that Tudor Dixon can do very well with some working class voters outside of Detroit, and she will Grand Rapids. I think she will very narrowly win the Michigan governorship race. It'll be pretty close because Whitmer does have a solid base, but I do think in the end the Republicans will narrowly win that seat. Instead of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania is kind of crazy. I think Lou Barletta will be the Republican nominee, and I think he will go on to win. He's a pretty good candidate. He lost by a lot back in the 2018 midterm election against Bob Casey, but Bob Casey is super popular, and honestly, Lou Barletta did very well considering all the factors against him. So he is a decent candidate, and I think that he will manage to win the state of Pennsylvania by a very slim margin. In the great state of Pennsylvania. State of Maine, the former governor Paul LePage is running to be governor against Janet Mills again. Janet Mills, she's relatively popular, but not super popular. And the polls show the race actually very competitive. And the polls that I looked at showed Janet Mills, the incumbent Democrat governor, only defeating Paul LePage, the Republican, by like 3-4 points. And this was way before. This was even before Afghanistan. Those polls were done. So this race was actually seen as super competitive before all the shit went down with Biden and inflation and the Kabul and the Ukraine war. Then I see zero reason Republicans should not win the state of Maine by a tilt to maybe even lean margin. Because Paul LePage was a very popular governor. He has the endorsement of Susan Collins and the endorsement of Chris Sununu, who are both pretty popular figures in the Northeast, especially in Maine. Susan Collins. So I see zero reason that he should not win in Maine by a tilt margin. The rest of the states I am going to put as tilt to the Democratic Party. They include states of Minnesota, New Mexico, and Connecticut. Connecticut, the Ned Lamont, the incumbent Democrat governor there, he almost lost in a blue wave year back in 2018, and yeah, his poll numbers have gotten a bit better. He's more well liked now, but I do think in a solid Republican leaning year, in a Republican-leaning year with a very popular Republican, Bob Stefankowski, who made the race very close, in a Democratic-leaning year, the race will be super close, but I think the Democrats will very narrowly hang on just because Ned Lamont has seen improving poll numbers. Instead of Minnesota, I believe that will tilt to the Democratic Party. There's really no good Republican candidate. I mean, Scott Jensen, he's okay, I guess. He's better than most, but he's still not great. I think he'll do well in the rurals, but I don't think he'll be able to turn the suburbs around. And he certainly won't win the Iron Range, which is the big area we have to win, and we have to do better in that part of the state to make Minnesota competitive. He's not going to do that. So unfortunately, I do see Minnesota very narrowly going Democratic, although I think it will be very close. The state of New Mexico, I really hope that the weather dude, our favorite weatherman, I really hope that he wins, but it's not looking very good for him right now. Unfortunately, it's very sad, but yeah, it's New Mexico. The Democrat governor there is not very well liked. She has those disgusting cases with like sexual assault, which is making the race very competitive. And with a pretty popular Republican who did very well in the Senate race, I could possibly see it flipping, but as of now, I'm just not really sure what's going to happen there. So with that, this is the 2022 governor prediction for the for the midterms. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next.